So I'd like to welcome everybody to You, Me, and a Cup of Tea today. I'm here with a very special guest. His name is Dr. Brett Mitchell, and he and I go back a little ways. Welcome, Dr. Mitchell. How are you?
Very happy to be here this morning. Less happy to be looking at some of these pictures, the lower right picture in particular, but otherwise very happy to be here.
So Brett and I go back a little bit. Some of you may recognize him from the lovely picture in the left-hand corner. His wife, who was the star of the show, of course, that's Angela Mitchell, who's come to our classroom and talked to us sometimes in the past about what she does as a musician. And Brett happens to be married to her, so I thought, well, we should bring him on because he knows her, and he
I
also
do.
has a Seahawks mug. So, Brett, let's start with, normally the students create their own You, Me, and a Cup of Tea slide template, and they've all done that, but I didn't tell you about that part. I just created one for you. So why don't you go ahead and give us a little tour of your pictures as a way for these students to get to know you and maybe why you and I might have been connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have no idea who the lady in the upper right-hand corner is, but I can tell you about everybody else. Yeah, Mrs. Moffat mentioned in the upper left-hand corner, that is me and my lovely wife, Angela. We have been together for about 9 years now. She's a soprano and I'm a conductor, also masquerading as a pianist sometimes. In the middle at the top, that is me on stage with the Colorado Symphony that I'm currently music director of. Might have been, I don't know, during our first season sometime, and it looks like it's a Christmas concert, but I think it's actually a New Year's Eve concert because the stagehands all get off between Christmas and New Year's, so we just leave the Christmas decorations up for New Year's. On the lower left, that is me and a cellist. I cannot remember his name. Hold on. What is his?
It'll come to you.
It'll come to me. Yo-Yo, that's right.
Yeah, that's it.
That's me and Yo-Yo Ma. That was during my first season as music director in Colorado. That was December of 2017. It's pretty easy to remember dates like that when you work with somebody like Yo-Yo. That was the first time that Yo-Yo and I worked together. We did the Dvorak cello concerto with the Colorado Symphony. And then we actually ended up working together again the next summer as well out at Red Rocks, which is our outdoor venue here. And then on the lower right, dear God, help us all. I still I have that baton that you are holding in your hand there, sitting in my studio, not, 15 feet to my right now. I do not still have the can of Diet Coke. I think that may be a maternity dress that you're wearing.
I was pregnant with Nicole.
You were pregnant with Nicole, right? And so that's 1997, which is long before any of you were born, but unfortunately the year that I graduated from high school. It's receding further and further into the past. So that was the last year that I worked with Mrs. Moffat. I had her for all 4 years at Linwood High School before she came to Jackson. And before that, I was actually lucky enough to have her, before she worked at Linwood, she worked at Alderwood Middle School. And I had her during my 7th grade year at Alderwood Middle School when I was just a little pipsqueak playing alto sax. And then I was super disappointed because at the end of 7th grade, she announced that she was going to move up to the high school. And, when you're 12 years old, you don't have a real great sense of perspective and time and all of that. So all I could think of was, oh man, Mrs. Moffat's going away for my 8th grade year. What, of course, I neglected to realize in my youthful silliness was that I was then going to have 4 more years with her. So I have known I have known Lesley Moffat. Next September will be 30 years that we have known each other, which is remarkable because you're 35 and I'm 32. Isn't that adorable? So.
You used to celebrate my 40th birthdays back in my 30s when we'd go on band trips, and we'd be at restaurants, and you kids would always make the waiters sing happy birthday as if I was really 40 because you thought that was so ancient and I was still in my 30s.
That's old,
That's so
man.
weird to think I've known you longer than I've known 2 of my kids.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, because Nicole was born the week I went away. So I did my undergrad at Western Washington University, and I left in September of 97 to go do that, which is when Nicole was born. And then, of course, it was during I think it was my freshman year that you had Nicole, December of 93, right? My freshman year of...
That was Megan. Megan was born there.
Megan, rather. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. So I know I've known those girls their whole lives too. So kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I just, for those of you who might have been offended by my Hamilton rap, you can see here it was Brett who started me on rap back in the 1970s. I had that one lesson clearly right then and didn't pick it up again until 36 hours before recording my Hamilton rap. So
that was good. That was a very early draft of Guns and Ships, I think.
And it was drinking Diet Coke while pregnant. What a terrible idea.
Bless you. That's
Anyway,
all right.
so well, I know that you spent time playing saxophone and piano in band. Was that your biggest takeaway, or did you have other things that inspired you musically?
Yeah. Listen, I loved playing the saxophone. I mean, I don't talk about it publicly very often.
Wouldn't
And
either.
nothing against the saxophone players. And I love playing the piano. I still play the piano. But for me, and I'm sure that the vibe is similar now after all these years. I mean, certainly by the last half of high school for me, I was eating lunch in the band room every day with all of my friends. Not because we couldn't get along in the commons, the cafeteria or whatever, but it was really about, these are my friends. These are the people that I'm spending all this time with. And some of it comes from, being on the road and doing football games and, going to Lionel Hampton and going to Oregon State University and doing, all the various things that we did. But it's so much more fulfilling to make music with people that you have relationships with. One of the things that I have believed for a long time, and this is not my original thought, but I've always loved this thought, speaking about conductors, but I think it's absolutely applicable to every musician. But about conductors, our relationship with the musicians must be equal to our relationship with the music. In other words, the music is not necessarily the purpose of the thing. The purpose of the thing is the interpersonal part of it. If I didn't care about the interpersonal part of it, if I didn't care about working with people, I would have stayed a pianist and just kept, doing my piano thing all by myself. But I like working with people. And so the saxophone playing was great. The piano playing was great. The percussion playing was great. All of that stuff was fun. But what it was really all about for me was the friends that I was making. I mean, some of whom have, remained my friends for the better part of 30 years. And at the end of the day, I think what I really realized is, yeah, of course, I make my living doing music. I mean, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be doing that. But what it's really about is a hell of a lot more than the music. It's really about the relationships that you have with the people that you're making music with. And that's ultimately, not that I didn't take away a lot of great musical lessons and all of that, of course, but that's ultimately what I got out of being in band, was those relationships and those friendships. Because most of the people that I went to school with did not end up becoming professional musicians like I did. But so what? That's just a path. That's just the career that I have chosen. But I'm still Brett, and Travis is still Travis, and Rashid is still Rashid, and Tyler is still Tyler, and all of these names that
my kids.
Yeah. And those are the things that ultimately matter. I mean, when I tell stories about, high school band, the stories that I can tell publicly, most of them are about, my friends, my ridiculous friends doing ridiculous things. And some of them were musical and some of them were, shall we say, extra musical. But it's really about the relationships.
Well, I always end You, Me, and a Cup of Tea by asking my guest, what is an anthem that you have that no matter how bad the mood might be or whatever, you can count on that piece of music to lift you up and feel better?
Well, there's lots of them. There's lots of them, as you would imagine. But one that I always come back to, I'm a very big fan of Stephen Sondheim, the musical theater composer. And there's a lot of great shows that he wrote and a lot of great songs from those great shows. But the song that's the most meaningful to me, that has helped me the most over the last maybe 20 years, is a song from a show that he wrote. I think he wrote it in 1984, called Sunday in the Park with George. And the song that I'm referencing, there's a bunch of great songs
It
from this
better
show.
not be You Must Meet My Wife. That might
It,
be all those words, you're in trouble if that's it.
that's so funny. I love that song.
That's not
You
your
must
anthem or
meet
your
my wife, and then the woman responds, "Let me get my hat and my knife."
knife.
It's
Yeah.
so
It's
wonderful.
like
No, it comes from the end. It's actually right at the very end of the show, and it's a song called "Move On," and it's really about staying true to yourself and continuing to believe in what you are doing, whether everybody around you believes in that or not. So I'll just share. So this is the second volume of his collected lyrics. Nerds. But so I'll just share with you a couple of lyrics out of this, because these are the ones that I find so helpful, and I constantly come back to these all the time. So this is one of the characters is an artist who feels very stuck and not able to create the things that he wants to create. And the other character, who is singing to him, is trying to help him get some perspective. And she says, "Stop worrying where you're going. Move on. If you can know where you're going, you've gone. Just keep moving on. I chose and my world was shaken. So what? The choice may have been mistaken. The choosing was not. You have to move on. Look at what you want, not at where you are, not at what you'll be. Stop worrying if your vision is new. Let others make that decision. They usually do. You keep moving on. Look at what you've done, then at what you want, not at where you are, what you'll be." And then it closes with kind of my mantra. Anything you do, let it come from you. Then it will be new. Give us more to see. So I come back to that constantly, over and over again. I love in particular, anything you do, let it come from you. Then it will be new. Give us more to see.
authenticity.
Yeah, and really truly being yourself. And that is so hard. I mean, I give this leadership talk, and one of the things that I say at the close of it is, the quest to be authentically me, no matter how great the orchestra that I'm standing in front of, that's my lifelong goal. That's my lifelong quest, because the more you can authentically be you, the easier it is to get along in the world. If you're like putting on airs and trying to do, oh, I'm this kind of conductor or this kind of musician or this kind of accountant or whatever, it's just people don't respond to that. People respond to authenticity. That's what people respond to. And I think that's, I often say, when people ask me if I listen to recordings as I'm preparing a piece, which I don't until very late in the process, I always say, I would rather be a first-rate Brett Mitchell than a second-rate Leonard Bernstein, because Bernstein already did it that way. He already recorded it like that. Why would I want to I went to graduate school and am still paying off student loans just to make sure that I could read a score too. And I know how to read a score. And this is not to take away anything from somebody like Leonard Bernstein, but I'm not Leonard Bernstein. Leonard Bernstein already did that. I need to be Brett Mitchell. That's what I need to do. That's what I need to put all of my energy into and all of my focus on, because nobody else can do this. Nobody else can Brett Mitchell the way Brett Mitchell can Brett Mitchell. And that the same is true for Lesley Moffat, and the same is true for every single one of you. You don't need to try to be like somebody else. You need to be you. And as I say, easier said than done. I mean, that's a 41-year-old giving advice to people 25 years younger. And I'm here to tell you that the 41-year-old is still working on it every single day.
Me too.
And the 50-year-old is also working on it every single day. And that's, what more worthy lifelong task could we have than that?
What a great way to step into the new year with all these kids, is to remind them what value they bring. Not by imitating and doing exactly what I tell them to do to interpret the art the way I say you should, but what does it speak to you? Own it. and then be shout it from the mountaintops, because each, yeah, and so I thank you so much for spending time with us during the holidays here, for sharing some of your expertise and wisdom with my current students. It's a great flashback. I was telling them right before winter break how much I miss. I've done Christmas festival for decades, after at the end of every concert, surrounded by current and former students and communities, my own husband and dad and kids playing in the group. And now 2020, I haven't conducted a single concert. So the last thing I did was that. And so to close out 2021 or 2020 and kick off 2021 with a blast from my past, and talking to you brings back memories of so many of those kids that I hung out with you, and all those that were part of it. I have a current student who is the child of a student that you were in school with. And so there's just all of this, bringing it full circle. So kicking off our new year with hope, letting go, moving on, and your inspiring words have helped us kick off the new year, as you helped us close it out in our class with your beautiful music with Angela. So thank you, Brett Mitchell, for your time today. Give my love to your family, for happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a wonderful, safe, healthy, happy New Year.
Likewise, and same to you and yours and everybody. Here comes 2021. Go out and get it, please.
Let's do it.
Go get it.